thank you all for joining us today, and I'm really excited for this event. I would like to start off by introducing our moderator and panelists. First, we have Ofo Ezeugwu, the founder of Who's Your Landlord, as our moderator. And for our lovely panelists, we have Zakia Blaine, the founder of FBF Body, Sharice McGill, the founder of Local Artisan Foods French Toast Bites, Joe Green, the founder of Affinity Confections, and last but not least, Elliot Broster, the founder of Smokes and Things. Ofo, I'll hand it off to you to start the panel. Thank you all for joining.
Awesome, I appreciate the layup there. Em, good to see you. Great work here as always. And I'm excited to be with all of you today. So our goal really is to get into the nitty gritty of your experiences as Black founders and CEOs. And you know, the whole title is equality in entrepreneurship, right? And so in thinking about that, I think the word equality, I want to actually unpack a little bit, because I think we're really looking at equity in entrepreneurship, right? Equality is the idea that everybody, you know, gets the kind of same starting line. Equity is the idea that, you know, folks that have not been given those opportunities in the past should get a nudge forth. And I think that that's really the conversation that we're talking about today. So what I want to do first and foremost is have you guys each introduce yourself, talk about how your business or businesses were started. We'll keep it tight just to keep it flowing, but Zakia, I'll pass it off to you first to kick us off.
Good afternoon, everybody. So real quick rundown. My business will be 8 this year, August 12th. And my business started because I was diagnosed with a brain disorder 11 years ago, almost, and had to look at diet and exercise as basically a way to get off my meds and help people just be proactive in their health. And so that's when we started Fuck Being Fat, the Fuck Being Fat Challenge, which was a worldwide weight loss challenge where I help people just basically be proactive in getting their diet and exercise under control, not so much to look a certain way, but basically to live. And we've transitioned and pivoted since the beginning. We no longer do the weight loss challenges. However, we still offer food plans, diet and recipes, athletic apparel, shapewear for women who have lost a bunch of weight and have excess skin and things of that nature. So right now we're just a worldwide women's brand to empower women to live their best, most healthy lives.
Dope. Sharice, I'll pass it to you next.
Okay, hello, I'm Sharice, owner, producer of Local Artisan Foods, home of the French Toast Bites. On November 15th, 2018, I resigned from my day job. And 2 days later, November 17th, 2018, I launched French Toast Bites right in the middle of Philadelphia at the annual Christmas Village. In the 45 days of that event, my gross sales totaled 3/4 of the director level salary that I left behind. And that's when I knew I was on to something. 2019 was my first full year of being an entrepreneur. We had over 180 days worth of events, including like Roots Picnic, Made in America, Christmas Village again, Temple Homecoming, Villanova Homecoming, Drexel Homecoming. So any big show in this town, we served French Toast Bites at. And this year, 2 weeks ago, I made history by being the first Black woman that operated a food establishment in Spruce Street, Harbor Park.
Awesome. Elliot, I'll pass it to you.
What's going on, guys? My name is Elliot Broster. I'm the CEO of Smokes and Things. It was a business that I started while I was in college at Temple University. That was an amazing journey. So pretty much I built the smoke shop in my apartment, and over time my roommate's like, dude, too much stuff in here. You gotta figure something out. So I went alone. I took a leap. I found a space in the community that I felt was a perfect location where I had a huge following on campus as well. And I just launched the business. And I think we're going to touch on a lot of things like that throughout the podcast. But that business right there was something amazing because it's become something more than a smoke shop. It's basically a lot of people come to just meet another young African American male that started the business and expert. So I can give them some answers to the questions that they had. So that's Smokes and Things in a nutshell where we're at today.
Awesome. And then Joe, last but not least.
Gotcha, thanks. Good afternoon, everybody. So my name is Joe Green. I'm the founder and owner of Affinity Confections. As a kid, I spent a lot of time in the kitchen baking with my grandmother. And then while I was in the Fox School of Business, graduating in 2012, I interned at a bakery in Chestnut Hill, where I saw some really unique market opportunities to kind of explore different options, things that I was interested in as a consumer. And so Affinity Confections was born. So Affinity Confections, we create premium natural ingredient desserts and pastries that are seasonally inspired and portion controlled. We do commercial residential delivery throughout the city, and we do catering and work with a bunch of corporate clients as well.
Awesome, awesome. Just to round it out for everyone at home, my name is Ofo Ezeugwu. I'm CEO and founder of Who's Your Landlord. Our entire focus is on empowering and informing the rental community, the landlord reviews and housing literacy content. And I'm happy to be here with you all today. The idea that came out of my mind started at Temple University during my senior year, serving as the vice president of the student body, and now built it to a company of 15 team members, reviews in over 300 cities and constantly growing. So what I want to do is today is going to be a conversation around a lot of the woes, but also like the intricacies of being a Black entrepreneur. But I don't want it to be a drag fest in terms of all like just down information. I think there's actually a lot of positive in our experiences that I want us to make sure we highlight first. So for people at home that don't know, so the guests already have had a list of questions, so they know what's coming. But I'm going to throw one random out to start that's not on your list. I want you to talk about how has being Black actually helped you in your business? Like how has that been a positive for you in your business? Does anybody have an idea of that? I mean, for me, I know, it makes me stand out. I'm in real estate, and real estate is a very white industry. It's a very stodgy, old school industry. It's a lot of old white guys. I mean, that's just the reality of it. And so that can be an impeding factor, but at the same time, it can be something that accelerates and that I'm just different, right? Like my hair's up, right? Like I'm very unapologetic about how I show up in spaces because I'm very confident in what we're creating, what we build. But I'd love to learn from some of you guys. Maybe what's a positive you've gotten? Maybe it's in the community side. Maybe whatever it is. Anybody got an idea of something positive for them?
I'm still something on that one. In my industry, being a smoke shop, it's a lot of Middle Eastern, Indian people who pretty typically own those types of businesses. And the things I love the most, honestly, is when I have another Black-owned person come into the store and they're like, "Who owns this joint?" And I say, "I do." And the smile goes from ear to ear. And I love seeing that, especially when they're like, "Oh my God, I'm going to support this even more now that I know this is a Black-owned business in my community." Saying that you are 23 doing this is inspiring to me. And it happens daily. And I can't express that enough. Like, that is one of the things that makes my heart melt about that business that I started. And I stand out in it now.
Zakiya, I think you were going to say something too.
Well, for me, just being in the fitness and wellness space, which is normally reserved in the past for white women, having a Black woman who shows up unapologetically as herself has definitely helped me as far as building community, because a lot of Black women, it's just the Black family, we've grown up on eating a certain type of way. You get made fun of for eating salads and, "Oh, you eating a salad today?" You know what I'm saying? Like that's how Black people look at wellness, unfortunately, have been in the past. But in the 8 years that I've been in business, I have seen a shift in Black women and men just being concerned about their wellness, being concerned about what they put inside of their bodies, how they take care of their bodies, just as far as not just what you put in it as far as food, but eating well, sleeping well, your mental wellness. So with FBF, literally, my slogan is "I change lives and life happens here." So it's not just one day we can be talking about, food and diet. The next day we can be talking about, praying and taking time for yourself and going to therapy and things of that nature. So it's just a total wellness aspect. And for me, my community goes hard for me. So, when I look and I see all these Black women going super hard for me all the time, that is just, again, I change lives. And so to know that I have an impact on women's lives and then their children's lives is amazing.
So for me, having Affinity Confections has allowed me to be a food educator as well. And it gives me the opportunity to go into various communities throughout the city and work with young kids and young adults, introducing them to fresh fruits and vegetables that they may not have experienced otherwise. Just to echo off of your point of eating healthy. And one of the benefits of being a Black business owner is that all of those kids get to see someone that looks like them and comes from where they come from in a prominent position to them. So it gives them more motivation, they're more receptive, and they have other things to aspire and shoot for. You know, seeing me as a Black entrepreneur in the community, helping with, you know, those food insecurities and introducing, you know, new components to young kids and adults. So that's definitely one of the biggest positives for me, is just seeing that community impact.
And Sharice, how about you? Yeah, I want everybody to touch
for
on
me, I just see it as an opportunity to motivate and inspire other female Black food entrepreneurs and chefs in my space. And I use the designations on purpose between a food entrepreneur and a chef, because for me, you know, this ain't my grandma's recipe. This isn't this. I'm truly a food entrepreneur. I definitely am a class away from my MBA in food marketing. So the whole thing is very deliberate and just making history. I know when they announced that I was the first Black woman to have a food business on Spruce Street, the amount of Black restaurant female owners that came out to support in the last 2 weeks has been overwhelming. So just seeing that support and, you know, knocking down doors to help get more Black women in these spaces is a challenge that I'm looking for, but I'm also excited about it for the opportunity. And it lies in my hiring practices. I only hire youth of color from underserved communities, 17 to 24, so they can see entrepreneurship up close and personal, the blood, sweat, and tears of it. And I always tell them, you know, don't let the job work you. Work this job, make the connections, because you're gonna meet the Jeff Browns of ShopRights. You're gonna meet the person who does all the booking for Made in America. So get your contact list up, and that's what I kind of encourage for the staff that works with me.
Awesome. So the first question I got for you guys here is, you know, what are some of the challenges specific to entrepreneurship and to our industries faced by Black entrepreneurs? And it's funny because I think a lot of the positives you each said all drive down to the idea of social impact as well. So none of you are just business owners for the idea of, you know, increasing that bottom line, but you have other ways of looking at progress and success as well. So when I think about some of the challenges, like I'd even say that same medley of positivity sometimes can be flipped against us, right? Like as a Black founder, you know, I think we in our community, we talk about the idea of a Black tax, which means that if you make it, it's your responsibility to help others in your families, others in your peer groups, your friends, to move forward as well. And I think that there tends to be a negative connotation with that when it should be more positive, more from an uplifting spirit. But I know for me in the VC world, when I'm pitching investors and whatnot, just being Black alone, there's already a default to thinking that I'm focused on just impact and not money. And then secondly, with that, there's an added energy of, you know, a lot of the things you guys are doing in terms of mentorships, hiring practices, what have you. When people are thinking of investing their capital and doubling it, tripling it, 10xing it, they're thinking about, well, why would you hire 17 to 24-year-old, you know, people from underserved areas when you could hire a college kid who has a degree and can get cooking immediately and drive you more income, right? So like when you guys think of those kind of things, what are some specific challenges you guys have faced too, being a Black entrepreneur? So on the flip side of the positive.
I get kind of marginalized. Oh, I'm sorry, Elliot.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. I get marginalized in the sense that because of my leading product, which is the French toast bites, you know, it's not barbecue, it's not soul food, it's not this. So it comes with certain stigmas that folks are, a lot of times, I don't know if you guys remember a month ago when it was so cool for white folks to support Black folks, all these food bloggers were saying, oh, I didn't even know this company was Black owned, and I never even really kept it a secret. So a lot of times when it's harder for me to get in these spaces, they think I'm going to bring a vibe, and this is no knock and no diss to like a Sadia Schuler from Country Cooking. They assume that I'm going to bring that type of vibe, when prior to George Floyd and the uprising, my target audience was white women between the ages of 18 and 24. That's who the audience was. Well, not my target, but that's just ended up who likes French toast. But since then, it changed dramatically, and I had to get some more raw data on my new clientele. But so there's like this prejudice that comes with when you see a Black woman cook, or Black guy too. They think they already know what kind of customers you're going to drive, and it's just not the case. So I had to prove that over the past 2 years that I have a very diverse clientele, and it doesn't look like me. My staff looks like me, but my customers don't.
Gotcha. So what I was going to say, I was just going to echo a point that Ofo kind of touched on in terms of pitching VCs, you know, some of the challenges for me early on have been centered around funding. And it's because when you see a Black entrepreneur's business plan that is inclusive of, you know, maybe where they grew up or underserved communities, it's perceived as less value to VCs sometimes, the venture capitalists, or just people that are going to be able to provide funding for you. So it almost puts people in a position of, you know, do you change your target demo? Do you change some components of your business plan to make it more attractive, or do you just stay the course? And for me, I decided that it was more important to stay the course. So I've always been a fan of bootstrapping and leading with the work. So once you know, lead with the work and you accumulate certain accolades, or, you know, you have certain data behind you, then it makes it a lot easier for you to approach people for sources of funding. But it still can be difficult to show that if I wanted to open my business in a predominantly Black-owned neighborhood, is that more valuable or profitable than doing something in Center City? So I think that funding for me was like a really big obstacle for entrepreneurship as a Black man.
For me, I don't necessarily feel like I face any obstacles because I'm very unapologetically Black. Like, I like being Black. I don't feel like I have to ask other people for things for my business because, you know, I'm a little bit older than you guys. I'm 41, and I have lived a life where I've, you know, worked 7 days a week for 11 years, had my son at 19, went to Temple, graduated still on time, and kept working and all of that through the whole thing. So for me, there is no obstacle as far as my business because I don't necessarily need to get money from other people. I don't necessarily want to be accepted by other people because I found my niche. And I thank God I have an online, my store is all e-commerce based. So I don't have to worry about, you know, getting spaces downtown in inner city and applying for things. Even when I got my warehouse, I literally walked up to the office, met the owner, and he was like, I don't even know you, but I'm going to give it to you. Literally handed me the key that same day. I didn't have to apply for anything. He didn't check my credit. He didn't do anything. He was like, I feel like I can trust you. Here's the key. And we literally have been here for a year. This Friday, this August 1st, will be a year in our warehouse that we've been in. But I started in my living room, in my TV room, in my dining room, packing orders. And so for me, there is no obstacle because there is no obstacle that I can't get over. Because if somebody doesn't want to give it to me, I'm going to make it happen myself. And that's just it. And I think a lot of times, unfortunately, with a lot of Black businesses, with just Black people as a culture, sometimes we always are trying to find acceptance from other people when we have the acceptance in our community. We have people in our community who have money who will give it to us. Or if we put in the work in building those relationships, every time I've been on TV or featured in a magazine, it had nothing to do with me having a publicist. It was literally off relationships that I've built with other people and them seeing me do the work. And like Joe said, start with the work. The work will get you in a lot of doors as well as your relationship. So for me, there aren't any obstacles.
Awesome. How about you, Elliot?
So I'm gonna kind of talk about like what the kid said, because I really don't face any obstacles either. The biggest obstacle I might face is suppliers, and that's dealing with Indians and Middle Eastern people who are kind of seclusive about who they let into the door. That might be the biggest obstacle. Within my actual community where my business is at, everybody is open arms, and just like Zakia said, and if they're not, my grandma always said, don't go where you're not welcome. So I stay far away from that, and I get it on my own. All of my business I've started, I've never went to the bank for anything. I've never went to anybody else for anything. I figured it out, grinded it out, and got stuff done. And I think that's what more Black people need to do as well. Get it done. Just get the work done and build your business up.
So I think, you know, there's many things can be true at the same time, right? You can be in business, and to be honest, if we're Black and we're in more spaces that we're commonly accepted, usually like in anything dealing with hair, retail, all those things, those are areas people are more accustomed to seeing Black people. So maybe there isn't as much of a hindrance there. But also, too, the most active group of entrepreneurs in America are Black women. right? So they have not let, any of these things stop them from creating businesses that are profitable. That being said, though, I look at things like tech, right? Where, and obviously I'm always going to be biased in terms of bringing it up, because it is an area where you can stand to generate a lot of wealth in a very short period of time. And it's an area where over the last 20 years, 1% of venture capital funding have gone to Black founders. 0.0006% has gone to Black female founders. So when we start to unpack, who's being allowed to make generational wealth within a short period of time and pass it on, the numbers become very minuscule for us. And when the report came out a couple years ago that our average net worth as Black people was going to be 0 in 2050, and then you think about the fact that we've accrued, we were able to accrue wealth, a lot of it in the last 50 years prior to the recession in 2008, wiped it all out. And now we're sitting here and 45 million plus people are unemployed. And we always are taking the brunt of that more provocatively as a people. As if white people have a cold, we catch the flu. I think it's very important to certainly highlight the positives within our industries and what we're seeing. And the reality that everyone has touched on here is, hard work is the key to it all, right? Is at least the base key. The reality, though, is that for each and every one of you that have done amazing hard work, if you painted yourself white and pitched what you've already created, you could stand to get a lot more money, right? And that's just the facts of it when you look at the statistics. So understanding all that stuff, how are you guys? I mean, each of you have touched on a little bit about hiring practices or marketing practices. How do you ensure that your team culture is diverse? How do you ensure that you're hitting a diverse market of different people, if that's what you intend to do? What are your thoughts on that, and what can you share with the audience? Zakia.
Well, for me, you have to be intentional about your marketing. When FBF first started back in 2012, I remember somebody basically throwing it out there like, this is a brand for plus size Black women. Like, that was the niche that they had put me in, because I am a plus size Black woman. So they thought that and because a lot of my customers were Black and were started out plus size on their weight loss journey, that's what they had basically branded me as. Like, this is what this is for. But then I had to intentionally change my marketing and change my message. Even though my message was never, this is for Black plus size Black women, that was never my message, but that's what the people interpreted it as. So I had to make very clear in my marketing efforts to change the verbiage, who I was talking to, making sure that my models represented women of all sizes and all races. So it became it went from plus size Black women to any woman who does not feel necessarily comfortable where they are. Our whole mission is to empower women to live their best, most healthy lives. So if there is a woman out there who is feeling like she's not living her best, most healthy life, then guess what? FBF is for you. I don't care what color you are, what size you are, because you can have a woman who has been 140 pounds her whole life. She has a child, she's now 170. 170 pounds is not necessarily plus, but for her, she doesn't feel comfortable in her body because that's not the body that she's used to having. So I was very intentional with changing my marketing, making sure I have women of all colors, all sizes. So you just have to train. I always say you train your customers. You have to tell them how your business works, and then they'll fall in line.
Awesome. Any other thoughts? I mean, Sharice, you talked about some of your hiring practices and strategy. Why do you find it to be important, and what are you trying to achieve by being diverse in the way you look at hiring?
Oh, because I had the opportunity to teach hospitality and culinary arts at Benjamin Franklin High School for 6 years in the Philadelphia school system. So I just saw that a roadblock for a lot of these kids was just access and opportunity. So I'm in a position to provide access and opportunity, and I'm going to take full advantage of it. And my general manager, my full-time worker, he was my student when he was in 9th grade and didn't know the difference between a hospital or hospitality when he read it on his schedule. And he's since graduated from East Stroudsburg with a degree in hospitality management, and now he's my lead guy. And so things like that mean a lot to me. In terms of marketing, media has been very favorable to me since the beginning. I get Fox Today So that's been very favorable, but I know that also works another way. So I have to stay on point, and I think media kind of holds you accountable to certain things. But in terms of marketing, I market to event managers more so than I market to people, to individuals. Like everything from preparation to packaging is all designed to excel in outdoor open spaces. And the folks that come to those events happen to be our customers that way. So I kind of rely a lot of my marketing outside of branding on the way that Spruce Street is marketed, the way, like if you go to a Made in America, there's 50,000 people there. So if you catch them, I'll skin them for sure. So that's just kind of been our business model. Like I don't want a brick and mortar.
Yeah, not for sure. And that's an interesting point you brought up about the customer segmentation, about you focusing on the event planners more than the people. That's actually like McDonald's business plan. They look at their customers as the 30,000-ish franchise owners, right? That as opposed to the people. They have, of course, a national marketing department that focuses on the general consumer, but they feel like if they can provide the utmost service to those 30,000 plus franchisees, then if anything, they're going to turn that around and provide that positive service back to the people. So I like the customer segmentation on that too. Joe,
I have to make that difference between the customer and the consumer, because my customers are these event managers that hire us, and the consumer is people who actually eats the French toast, and they market for me. That's why I put the logo. If you think I'm distracted, I am. I'm stamping my cups now because we're gonna have a busy. I'm always working. We're gonna have a busy weekend, so my marketing comes into branding, and like Starbucks, my consumers market for me because they take the camera eats first.
That's real. I mean, I legit have a demo day pitching in front of 250 investors at 1 o'clock. So I understand. We're going. Joe, how about you, man? How do you key in on making sure your hiring practices are diverse in nature, and also why is that important to you? That and marketing, of course.
So for me, since I founded the company, in 2014, it was very important for me to have a company culture surrounded by creativity, right? So when I went to go define my market segments, I didn't really look at it in terms of demographics, but psychographics. So, foodies don't have, of course they do, but foodies in general it's not broken up by age and, race, gender, all of those things. It's, some people like to try things and they're more adventurous than other people. So what we did was we have seasonal menus in addition to our regular menu, and those seasonal menus feature, I want to say more unique items. Outside of your standard vanilla and chocolate. Like we may do a mango lime, cupcake or something with blackberry. So that appeals to people's interests. We also use, that culture around creativity for hiring as well. One of my main points, regardless of anybody, who joins the team, is that to figure out what their source of inspiration is for what they want to accomplish. And once you identify someone's interest, I can say, hey, as an entrepreneur, I can help you accomplish your goals and objectives while you help me build out as well. Some people choose to stay on, others move on to do other things, which I encourage, which I have never seen in my professional work life before. Typically companies, they hold you and they keep you there as their resource. I want people to grow and expand. So really centering everything around creativity and psychographics as opposed to demographics really helped me identify the avenues that I wanted to explore with my business. So that includes different tasting events, different pop-up events, and just all of the things that we promote on a website and social media as well.
So, and then Elliot, for you, how do you think about your hiring practices and also to marketing your product to the right people, whoever that is?
So pretty much what I do is when I hire somebody, they're usually Temple students. Either they're working on a business or they have a vision in mind of a business that they want to start. They're usually the first concept that I ask them. What are your goals? What are you trying to do in life? Because I want to help you out. So I have international students that work for me. I have people that are from the city of Philadelphia that work for me. Everybody, even the little kids that try to come in and grab little cigars, I tell them look, no, you can do the windows and figure that out. And that way I can kind of bring them underneath me, under my wing, and get them some game along the way. But like Bill said, I have customers that have, employees that have businesses. I help them on a daily. teach them how to expand it, how to grow, what they can do differently. And that's really what I wanted for my business as far as my employees. And I don't want my employees to work for me. This is a small business right now, but the vision is always going to be big. So it's going to be multiple stores, wholesale distribution. At that point, I don't want my employees working for me for 10, 15, 20 years. No, you got to come to me with something different after your 5 years. What do you want to start a business? How can we help you start that out? Do you want to build your own department within the company? What do you want to do different? I just don't want you to be do the same job over and over and over again, because it becomes repetitive in my eyes. I can hire anybody to just work at a cash register and do something differently, but how can we expand together? Is pretty much what I do within my business. And as far as marketing it, it's pretty simple. It's tobacco-based products. It was when I first opened it was 18, about 60-ish. Now we're looking at around 21 because of the laws and regulations now, 21 to about 80. It kind of grew up as far as like the whole medical marijuana things coming out with people using medical. So my market demographics are all over the place, really. So it's kind of difficult to target. If I could tell you like what the day-to-day is, most of it is college kids, obviously. And then you get this sparse older crowd that comes in for to get fished. Their fakes and pennies fixed. But we just use each other to market our stuff. I let them market their businesses within mine, which gives them more exposure. That gets more people to come into the store because they want to talk to that employee that has that cosmetic company or something like that. My artist that I have, I let him hang his artwork in the store. He's in there constantly posting his artwork. So that brings more customers into my store. I don't charge him a dime. It's all off the strength because he's my homie and I love what he's doing as far as his business. So again, like relationships, building those relationships, those tight relationships bring you more on the back end than you would ever think of. And a lot of people, I think, overlook that. So doing things for free or just letting somebody just market their businesses, whether it be your employee or homie, it'll definitely take your business to the next level.
Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly. I think our team's very entrepreneurial in nature. That's just the nature of the beast, because what you want to foster an environment of self-starters, people who can make it happen. Like even for us, I mean, we're 50-50 men and women, 75% African-American. So we, and it's funny, it's not even like we set out every day to have a concerted effort to hire this way. It's just that when you put goodness into the world, you get great people back. And so from a team perspective, that's really what we key in on, and it's created a culture where I always harp on this, like we only hire people that are addicted to learning. Like you've got to be somebody who wants to learn, who has an insatiable appetite to learn new things, to tinker with new things, see what works, see what expands, see what progresses, and go from there. As you guys kind of, if you're taking a step back, right? I don't know if it was Sharice that made the joke earlier, but that all these companies were talking a month ago there was some joke effectively around the fact that this has been an ephemeral moment. You had George Floyd, you had Breonna Taylor, you had Ahmaud Arbery, you had uproar around racism in America, which has been ingrained in the American culture since day one here. Everybody made an announcement about what they were going to do or that they thought Black Lives do matter in this moment in time. And then it's kind of fallen off. We're still waiting for Breonna Taylor's, killers to be arrested, right? So all these things being the case, a lot of businesses, bigger conglomerates came out and said, we're contributing $100 million towards Black-owned businesses. We're going to do this, we're going to do that. Or a lot of words just to really say Black Lives Matter, but a lot of words made it look and sound more endearing. When you think about, I want you to think about that concept, but I want you to tie it to allyship, right? Like what should these organizations, what should your peers that don't look like you, what can they be doing to actually help our businesses? What can they do? What should they do? This is more of the equity question, not equality. We're all like, we all have the same shot and it's a meritocracy. But this is like, what are things that we actually need to see happen from our friends, our allies that don't look like us to make progress?
I'll tell you, prior to the uprisings and systematic racism being so forward and frontally, we received zero funding, like none. We've been completely self-sustained. I got one SBA grant at the beginning of COVID, but then the amount of funds that we were able to raise between all the riots and the uprisings and today, we've never raised that amount of capital ever in terms of funding. Like you said, athletes and celebrities are getting behind $100 million. Magic Johnson, we are a recipient of one of those Magic Johnson PPP forgivable loans. So the amount of money that we raised in that time, my thing is just keep that same energy all the time. Like, why did the world have to blow up for you guys to see that small Black businesses needed funding? So that's a good thing for me that came out of it. And the whole deal with Spruce Street, the marketing director for Delaware River Waterfront Corporation is an African-American woman, and she challenged the, senior management, because she's writing all these statements like, we support this, Black Lives Matter, they're posting it, they're typing it, but nothing reflects that. So I'm guessing that's why I got called, because she made them stand on all these statements that they're making her push out. And I guess if it was her responsibility, she felt, I'm speaking for her, she felt that, no, we have to see this we have to see this blanket statement all the way through. So my thing is just keeping that same energy, continuing to support with the funding and continue to support in terms of being hired. That's all really. Nothing special. Like just patronize. That's all.
Right. I mean, and a study came out of UC Santa Cruz that highlighted amidst COVID, 40% of Black businesses have shut down for good. Right. Like this is a, you know, I appreciate and it's each of you, and it speaks to the warriors you guys are and going to business every day and building your companies. But, you know, when we really get to the nitty gritty of our communities and what's actually happening, we're still in the pandemic part of this, the health part. We're not even talking about when that's extra $600 a week goes away. You know, we're not talking about, you know, over the next 3 to 6 months, next 9 to 12 months, what that looks like when it starts to become more clear this is an economic issue and we're in a depression far worse even than the original one. So again, to that point of allyship, patronizing our businesses, funding our businesses, allowing us to get access to those loans without ridiculous, without ridiculous interest rates on those loans. Those are things. But what are some other thoughts too as to how, you know, people can be effective allies?
I got a couple.
Yeah.
Something simple. If you see that I have an Instagram page for my business, just repost it. Like one of my photos, do something, send it to a friend, things of that nature. During the riots, my store was actually moving, and I put a very emotional post up because I was devastated for my business being ran through and ransacked. And it got the attention. It was over 70,000, 5,000 shares, and it got a lot of attention. And we actually partnered with Urban Outfitters. They helped me out. They fixed my window. They were very adamant about helping me out. They didn't even want any social media practices, anything like that. They said, this is on you. You can do what you want, but this is a gift from us. We're just looking out for you because we see that you're a Black man trying to do something different. Not only that, ABC reached out to me, which also boosted the popularity of the post as well, and really just got more exposure. So when it comes down like social media, and you don't have to shop in my business, but just show me that you support me. And you can do that without spending money. It's that simple. Just repost. We're in a social media age. You might have 10,000 followers, and that one post that costs you 0 cents might really do my business a lot of justice and keep me from going under. You know what I mean? So if people could just do that, I would be more than happy, because I don't want a handout at the end of the day. But if I'm going to do the same for you, give that same energy back, because that's what I'm going to do as a person. That's just how I am.
I'm sensing a theme, you know, keep that same energy. That's real. Zakiya and Joe, I'll throw it to you guys, and then I'll open it up to folks at home. So I'll let Emily then throw me some questions in a little bit too. But Zakiya, how about you first? You know, what are your thoughts on positive allyship?
Here's the thing, and this is why I kind of kept quiet, is because I don't have people in my life who don't look like me. And that is not to say that it is what it is. Okay. You know, I grew up in the hood. All my friends are from the hood. All the people that I know are from the hood. Even going to Temple, when I went to Temple, I was a single mother. So I didn't stay on campus. I didn't have that college life, you know, thing. I was working and going to school. So literally everybody, so when we're talking about allyship, I don't know what that is, because I don't have people who don't look like me in my life. So I can't say what I would tell, you know, somebody else who doesn't look like me, what they should be doing for my business, because, you know, I don't know. So I guess it would be the same thing as just support businesses. You know, do I have customers who don't look like me? Yes, absolutely I do. But they're already my customers. So they're already supporting me. They're already there. They're already showing up. They're already sharing my business and tagging me and being a customer. So they're already there. So as what they said, Elliot and Cherie said, you know, just continue, like you said, to keep that same energy, but not even just for, I'm gonna flip it, okay? So not just people who don't look like us, but people who do look like us, okay? So how about we start supporting our own businesses and grant grace to Black businesses and stop being so hard on Black businesses? Because the first thing people say out of their mouths when something doesn't go right is, oh, this is why I don't do business with Black people, and this is why it's so hard to do business with you. And no, but they don't grant us the same grace that they grant, you know, a big business like a Target, a Walmart, a Starbucks, a Chick-fil-A. You know, soon as there is an issue, there is, oh, this is why I don't support Black business. That has nothing to, you don't have to keep reminding me that I'm Black, I know. But my customer service has nothing to do with me being Black. You being dissatisfied with something because maybe you didn't read the policy or you didn't have proper customer etiquette has nothing to do with my service or me being Black. So the one thing I can say is, how about as Black people, we start supporting our own businesses? Because what I did see during that time when everybody was supporting Black businesses, guess who else was supporting Black businesses? Black people. More Black people were supporting Black businesses before, more than ever. So how about we start supporting our own businesses? How about we start granting each other grace? And if there is an issue as far as, you know, because the biggest complaint is customer service. But how about if there is an issue with customer service, how about you grant grace? How about you talk to the owner and try to rectify it, as opposed to lumping all Black businesses as one? Because you don't do that when you're dealing with other businesses who are not Black. So how about we show allyship to each other and grant each other grace and support each other's businesses?
Well, you're spot on. I mean, I think, you know, first, I'm glad you brought up those points. You're speaking really to how we, even from, like I always say, life is played between the ears. Like from a mental capacity, for us to understand and value ourselves is number one. Like that has to start first. And there's a lot of arguments for like how life was pre-desegregation, where it was like the Black dollar did travel around the community longer than 6 hours, right? Like it lived within the community.
Mm-hmm.
But when you have a group of people who've been withheld from these access to the targets of the world for 300 years or whatever the case was, then it becomes when you desegregate, you know, everybody runs to the white-owned businesses and puts more emphasis on white-owned things. That's what success looks like. That's what you know, whether it's whatever it is, like that these certain things that have been propagated as positive, as markers of success, we then idolize. Henny, last time I checked, is not ran by a Black person. It's not owned by Black people, but we give them a lot of our money, most of it. Mercedes-Benz, very similar thing too. So when we start actually unpacking some of the companies we support religiously as a culture, you know, unless we start holding people to higher standards, a lot won't change. And it's why I feel like, you know, in our culture, there's a lot of like Black Twitter does move things forward. It changes the narrative on things, it highlights issues. But when it comes to like boycott energy, it's not really there. You know, Monique comes out against Netflix for undervaluing her. And we all sat back and laughed, right? And now every day she looks a little smarter because other issues have come out from black actors and actresses not being supported the same way from Netflix like they do white actors and actresses. So, you know, there's a lot to that. Joe, how about you, man? What are your thoughts on it?
So one I want to touch on, because I know you mentioned Walmart, you know, and you know, them donating money. You know, when I look at monetary contributions from companies for causes, I see what their annual revenue is first. Walmart makes billions of dollars. $100 million is less than one store and one city of their revenue, and not even annual revenue. So, I mean, I understand like the implication that is a large figure of money, but it's a relatively small drop in the bucket from somebody like them. For me, it's all about opportunity and access. You know, I understand, you know, having your people in your community supporting you, but to someone, you know, like me who may be trying to get retail space on a national level via Whole Foods or something like that, allyship looks like, you know, giving me a different type of shelf space, not putting me on the bottom or, you know, super far up top, highlighting those Black-owned businesses that are Whole Foods brands, that they have products in different stores, just to use as an example. But those opportunities are what allow us to be able to create generational wealth and for us to be able to grow and scale. As you mentioned about the real estate, it's extremely difficult for Black entrepreneurs that are ready to move into brick and mortar space if it's in a community that's not owned by us or run by us, or the building that we're looking to rent isn't owned by a Black-owned person, a Black person. You know, a lot of times those opportunities aren't really afforded to us. So opportunities and access for me is a key component for allyship and helping us elevate and move to the next level.
Agreed. So what I'll do is I have the Q&A here from folks in the audience. Emily, if you're cool with it, I could just flow off of reading this. And we'll start it up. Because I know we got I just want to make sure we're mindful of time. We got 10 solid minutes. So I'll lob the question up. If you got something, speak on it. And then I'll just move to the next one. So we'll keep it flowing. So the first question is, how do we feel about the BIPOC, so BIPOC label? I have been reserved in my feelings around it, and I'm not sure I want to include it in my business. I'll be real quick. When I was reading that initially on like Twitter and stuff, I thought I was saying biopic, and I was like, what is going on? And now, you know, then there's all that Twitter noise around like what it really means. Does anybody want to share what BIPOC means, and also to what their thoughts are on it?
I definitely want to lob this one. So it's Black, Indigenous, and people of color. Mm-hmm. You know, I actually posted something not too long ago on social media about it. I don't like the term at all. Especially in reference to Black people. Same thing with people of color. You know, all of the atrocities that are going on today are against Black people, not BIPOC. You know what I mean? And when you have companies or organizations that refer to Black men and Black women as BIPOC, it minimizes everything that we go to. You know, we have a history of being lumped in with everyone else and all their additional struggles. Like, I understand that, you know, other people face racism as well, similar to us, but we're talking about something very specific, even when you reference, you know, Black Lives Matter. So I don't like to use the term. I tell people to steer away from it, and I don't use it in regards to anything that we do, business-wise or personally.
Awesome. Any other thoughts before I move to the next question? Cool. Next question is, how do you seek Black employees without being discriminatory? Is it just networking, or can I post on Indeed?
In my case, because I'm kind of specific, it's just all friends of friends. But like, I'm almost 40, so a lot of my friends' kids are, you know, teenagers. So that's the way I hire. I do have a close relationship with the school, sports, sports, and hospitality management at Temple, and there's a multicultural committee there. So I find a lot of folks through that avenue. So I never posted a job ad, wanted ad in my life. It just kind of comes, people will come up, they say, can my son work here? Can my daughter work here? And I say, you know, we'll give them a little trial run, and if it works out, it works out. So I never had to post that I was hiring ever. So I don't know how I would even approach that. But I'm not opposed to hiring folks who are not of color. But my preference is to give folks who don't have the access to opportunity first dibs.
Awesome. Anybody want to touch on it before I move to the next question? Yeah. Oh, you're on mute.
Okay. Sorry. Okay. Everybody who works for me is related to me or a friend. So for me, it's like if I can give opportunities to people who I know firsthand, and change their lives, then that's what I'm going to do. So like even today, I'm looking for temporary help for the holidays coming up and our big job, our anniversary job we have coming up. And I called my friends and I'm like, okay, does your niece need a job? Or, you know, somebody who is a teenager or early 20s, do they need a job? That's how I hire people. And also for me, unfortunately, because I have a large social media platform, a lot of people only want to work with me because they want to be near me. And they don't actually want to do the work. They just want to say that they're a part of FBF, you know? And so when I first started my business, I had a lot of turnover because that's how I would, you know, announce jobs. I would be like, look, I'm hiring. And then I would have somebody come, it didn't work out. And then I had to say, you know what, let me stop. So it took me 7 years to get a good team. And a lot of times with entrepreneurs, that's what you have. You have that problem of turnover all the time. So once I got that good team, I'm like, I'm sticking with it. I'm sticking with this this method of hiring people. So that for me, it's just, I want to see my family win, and everybody that I know win. If I can help them do that, then that's what I'm going to do.
That's real. I was listening to a conversation yesterday, and this CEO had shared, she's like, look, you can go through 50 people to get to 2 great employees. Like it's so real. Next question I got is, as a Black business owner, do you find it harder to find financial backing, such as getting accepted for loans or finding investors willing to support you?
Yeah, I definitely think it can be difficult. Like I said in the beginning, it's all based off of, you know, your business model. Me having finished products in the forms of desserts and pastries, jar products, it was extremely difficult to convey that sense of, you know, getting that funding to be able to grow and scale the business versus someone that may have more of a social impact and is not as product oriented. But as time goes on, you know, if you're doing vending, if you're doing different types of events, and you can start to show those receipts and on your taxes, it allows you to be able to elevate to go and apply for funding. You know, even during this time, during the pandemic, you know, some of the questions on those forms are, you know, do you have a Dun & Bradstreet number? Are you a certified minority-owned business? You know, and so I would definitely encourage anyone that's currently in operation, if they don't have those things, to take the proper steps and avenues to pursue that, because that opens up your world of funding. And so a lot of times it's not all the great things that you've accomplished, but it's that paperwork. You know what I mean?
Can I just piggyback and say the paperwork is critical? Like, I felt my business taxes, you know, completely separate of my personal taxes this year. And I think that was been the competitive advantage into attracting these funding opportunities, because I was able to show receipts and show that I actually pay someone. That's why we were able to get a PPP loan. It showed I'd actually have a payroll. I actually pay event fees, but I consider that rent, you know, for tax purposes. So that's critical, is having your paperwork in order.
Yeah.
And knowing what it takes to be, you know, hired by like Aaron Marks, to be a part of supplier networks of these bigger companies. Like the Duns and Bradstreet number is huge, SIC number is huge, all those kind of things you have to have. And just do everything by the book. Like, you have to transition from the side hustle to building a small enterprise. Like, I never said I had a side hustle, because I don't think side hustles have business plans. So even when French Toast wasn't full time, I treated it like a small business enterprise.
Mm-hmm. No, for sure. And you know, a lot of it's like the mental as well of not working in your business so much as working on your business. Like, how do you own several locations as opposed to having to work at the front for every single one of them, right? Or the one you have. So yeah, I think if there's one theme to take away from the last 2 people that shared, Sharice and Joe, it's the paperwork, the foundational documents have to be right, because it just can lead to headaches if you don't fix that stuff early on. Being mindful as a host here. Let me make sure we're good at 12:57. All right, so I'm gonna hit a couple more questions, but I want to make sure before we get out of here that each of you shares one ask of the audience at home, and also where people can find you. So I'll ask one more of these questions in the Q&A, and then I'll pass it to you guys to round us out here. Let me see. Okay, how can the business investment community meet Black entrepreneurs' financing needs? Not just funding, but all the other capital required for success? That'll be the last question.
Do you mind repeating the question?
Sure. How can the business investment community meet Black entrepreneurs' financing needs? Not just funding, but all the other capital required for success?
I think it really requires a detailed plan on the business owner's part. You know, a lot of the grants that I've applied for, I've been very specific in my language in terms of, if I'm seeking $20,000 for an investment, I want to let you know that 30% is going to go towards R&D and product development. I want you to know that 15% is going towards infrastructure. I have a detailed plan of how the funds are going to be utilized. So what I try to do and what I encourage people to do is remove any questions that a potential investor may have before they ask the question. So in your pitch and your presentation, if you answer all of those questions, the only thing that they should have to say is yay or nay in terms of, you know, moving forward.
For sure. Yeah. Awesome. So Joe, since you're already talking, tell people, like, well, first put your ask out there. What do you want from the people at home? And then also tell people where they can find you and connect with you.
What I want from people in terms of what?
Whatever it is, it's your ask. I can't guide it for you. It could be allyship, it could be funding, it could be just patronize my business, it could be follow us on Instagram,
Gotcha.
Whatever the ask is.
Got it, great. So what I ask people to do, is really read the news, really look at social media, and see the entrepreneurs that are being highlighted, made mention of. Find out ways that you can be an ally yourself, in terms of partnership and support people. I've reached out to several people and businesses and, have some great things on the way. And we can be found at affinityconfections.com is our website. And on Instagram, it's Affinity Confections as well. No underscores, anything, just Affinity Confections.
Awesome. Elliot, how about you, man? What you're asking? Where can people find you?
I'm gonna ask something simple. Just Google Black-owned businesses and go shop at one of them. Go repost them. Do something of that nature. It could be mine. It could be anybody's on this panels. Just do that. That's all I'm gonna ask. You guys can find me on Instagram. That's where I'm the most active at. It's __LELL. And then on my business at Smokes and Things and at 211 Hookah Lounge. Hope to see you guys soon.
And be mindful of the chat, everybody. Emily's dropping all of our handles in there, so kudos to you, Em, and the ESA team. Charisse, how about you? What you're asking, and where can people find you?
I'm looking to hire one more person. It doesn't necessarily have to be a person of color, but if it's within this Temple community, I need that because Spruce Street Harvard Park is open every day for 60 hours a week. So I need one more person to work to fill in some shifts. I pay more than minimum wage, and you get to keep all your tips. And you can find me most active on social media, Instagram. That's Local Artisan Foods. That's LOKAL Artisan Foods. And also ask that you just come down, check me out. I'll hook you up. Just say that you were on this Zoom call today, and you'll get hooked up. Just take a picture of it and throw it on the gram. That's all I need. That's all I need from you.
Awesome. And Zakia, how about you? What you're asking? Where can people find you?
I'm gonna piggyback off what Cherie says. I'm hiring, so I need help. We have $1 million drop coming up on August the 14th. So I need all hands on deck. So if there are about 2 or 3 of you who are looking for a job and don't have COVID and have not been out running the streets, then you can email help@fbfbody.com. The way you can find me is fbfbody.com, online, all socials at fbfbody. Like I said, we got $1 million drop coming up August the 14th, which is our 8-year anniversary. So if you are here, make sure you help us make history and purchase something at fbfbody.com and follow me on the Instagrams.
Awesome. And last but not least, for me, my ask is to make sure you're going out there, learning all the things you can, reading like legitimate sources in the news, which actually can be hard to find at times. But make sure you're doing that. And also too, for Who's Your Landlord, come Monday, August 3rd. This is actually between me and y'all because we haven't shared this yet. But we're dropping a rent relief package for people, $25,000 going towards Black families that are in need. So that link will be live soon, August 3rd. And also too, we're throwing all types of things in there too with other partners as well. So discounts on storage, job opportunities, all things will be in that rent relief package that we're dropping on Monday, August 3rd. So stay tuned to that. Follow us at WYL Community where you can learn more, and you can also, of course, get pinged when that goes live. And then last but not least, I want to thank all of our panelists here. I think you guys all did an amazing job and shared some dope gems. I hope you all at home got a lot out of this. We had an amazing participation rate here. So kudos to y'all for attracting amazing people to come through, and keep going out there and inspiring and building the future. It's what we need right now.